1907, I believe. And so the easy thing is to buy into illegal immigration bad, legal immigration good, because my grandparents and great-grandparents came legally. Can you explain why that is no longer the case, why even legal immigration needs to be curtailed?
Yes, and by the way, your people are great other than the way they vote.
Hey,
a lot of brains, really helps the country.
The ones who vote that way ain't my people.
That's true. Well, it used to be, as Ben and I'm sure his grandparents are an example, pre-1970, immigrants were, as any immigration policy would require, better than us. That's what we want. We want immigrants way better than us. Immigrants pre-1970 were more educated, made more money, bought more houses, and 30% of them went home. Just take that fact alone. 30% of them couldn't make it and went home. We looked out across the world and skimmed the cream from the rest of the world. Unfortunately, the 1965 Act came at the same time as the Great Society programs, when America was transformed into a massive welfare state. Well, that is obviously going to change not only the sort of immigrant you're getting, well, the 1965 Act did that through a series of complicated rules to bring in people from cultures as different from ours as possible, and as poor as possible, because again, they'll work for the rich and they'll vote Democrat. Nobody goes home. Why would anybody go home? Go on welfare. And they are voting 8-2 for the Democrats.
So what do we do about the H-1B visa issue? Because you talk about this, because one of the, like, Ted Cruz is very good on immigration, except for, according to you, legal immigration and H-1B visas. H-1B visas are high-tech visas for people who don't pay attention to this stuff very closely. So can you explain the problem with the H-1B visa process and why even that needs to be curtailed according to your book?
Yes. A lot of Republicans get stuck on this issue, so I won't attack Ted Cruz for it, because so many people, I mean, I keep having to, I'm going to have to get like a shock collar for Sean Hannity and a few other people who interview me, because they keep talking about illegal immigration, other than the first chapter of my book where I talk about amnesty, because that just ends the country overnight. Then it's lights out. The rest of my book doesn't particularly distinguish the Hmong immigrants up here in Fresno and out in Minnesota engaging in massive amounts of human smuggling, child rape, credit card theft, shooting hunters because they don't understand private property. This is explained with great sensitivity in the Minnesota papers. No, they're all legal immigrants. The Somalis voting for Al Franken and then going back to fight with ISIS, they're all legal. No, we are talking about the legal immigrants coming in, and the H-1B visas in particular are the ones that most Republicans have a soft spot for, mostly because we are lied to about, oh, there's just so high IQ, they have such gigantic brains. Incidentally, the only time I mention IQ in my book is to quote the ones who want the cheap labor on the H-1. Oh, they have such high IQs. It's just stunning. No, H-1B visas are being used, well, in the worst cases, to bring in concubines for Bali Reddy, Lucky Reddy, one of our model immigrants in San Francisco. He bought 12-year-old girls from their parents for sex, brought them in on H-1B visas. One died. This happened, I don't know, it's in the book, like 2001, 2002. I follow the news very closely. When I came across this, I called up my friends, many of whom also follow the news closely, and said, hey, did you hear about this case in San Francisco? An Indian immigrant bringing in 12-year-old girls he had bought from their parents for sex, which ended up sex with all of them at once. He also brought in his busboys. He had a lot of restaurants and real estate property. That story was not broken by the San Francisco Chronicle. In fact, both the police and the media brushed it under the rug. It was broken by a high school journalism class. They had not yet attended Columbia Journalism School and did not know. No, it's against our journalistic practice to report facts that are unpleasant about our model immigrants. So he's bringing in, busboys, janitors, and concubines under the H-1B. There's one category of how it's an utter fraud. Other category, even the ones who are doing the computer programming work. Well, no, they're not the stars. They're doing standard computer programming work. Unfortunately, Americans could do the same work, but they want to be paid. the way the H-1B visa works is it's tied to a particular employer. So if you come in to work for Mark Zuckerberg and then, PayPal gives you a better offer, you can't leave without risking losing your visa. So you're tied to a particular employer. It's what's known in the law as indentured servitude, which this country abolished 100 years ago. Well, now the rich are bringing it back. And, we keep telling college students, oh, you got to major in one of the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, math. Well, no, the STEM graduates, American STEM graduates, half of them are not employed in STEM fields. And their salaries haven't gone up for a decade now. Why? Because Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg are bringing in the computer programmers who can do regular. They just type away in their little cubby holes for 12 hours, collapse, go home, and go to sleep. It is just a scam for the rich.
Well, on the free trade side of that, there could be a counter-argument from the free trade side, which would be, okay, so if you don't do that, if you don't bring the immigrants from there, then they just relocate to India and they outsource like they've done to call centers, for example. So what is the counter to the free trade argument? Okay, well, I understand you're worried about American wages, but American companies could just leave and relocate.